Finalmente, this is the third reading in a row. Guys, I'm just getting that. Remember that we ended with this exhaustion card? Well, I absolutely have some additional stuff to say about that. We have a whole deck, a whole little deck here. I don't know what these cards are going to bring up for us. They were in this pile on the floor, so it was like, well, this is what's up. In fact, it doesn't even want me to shuffle it. I literally did the shuffle move and put the same cards right back on the same cards. So the first thing is your community. So what's going on with the community? Feels like your community is growing. It actually, like, I bet you were expecting some negative news here, but it feels like you're making the right moves when it comes to community, and that's bringing in the spiritual community. So you're actually bringing to you the people that you need. If you feel alone, if you feel like the people that you need aren't coming to you, you're bringing the things that you need. Videos like this are going to help you. How is that happening? Well, it's because you're bringing a community that's surrounding you energetically. So your angels are now coming in sky, and they're literally surrounding you. They're helping you skyrocket your energies. That's why I mentioned angels. One of these readings I did, it was so random because normally I just talk about non-esoteric things. But in this one, I talked about speaking with your angels, and it was the first topic that came up. I wondered why, but now I understand why. It's because your angels are starting to surround you. Again, I did it again. I tried to shuffle and it didn't shuffle. Okay. So clearly we're going to put it to the side there like that. By the way, please remember that this is about your exhaustion up here. So again, let's try and envision that screen. Okay, let's see the screen. Survival. So this is about your healer guides. This is about your healer guides coming in, but there's something more there. They want to, in fact, I wanted to put what is going on right now. I can't even understand what I'm doing right now. What the hell? Did you see me put I put these all reversed. Even when I didn't, like... So, okay. Well, there's a lot of reverse again. So, oh man, so it's one of these readings again where placement matters. So now we have to look at, like, what's going on with these cards. I gotta do my little energy, like waves. Let's see, let's link everything. So we've got red, blue, purple, pink, green. I mean, it is pretty much the same color as all the cards. There's a little bit of yellow here, though, by appreciation. There's some yellow energy over there. Okay, so what's going on? Coffee time. Ah, yes, dude. And then exhaustion is like a hot pink. It's like it feels like this is like a buzzer. That's what it feels like. And the energy there is like that buzzer energy, you know, like it looks like it's like I want to go nyam on the exhaustion button, okay. Okay, so let's go. Let's freaking go, man. Let's freaking go, man. Right, let's start. So we talked about your community. The reason that's happening is because you are exiting. I need to decipher now. I just need to decipher if this is facing me or if this is facing you. I need to know which way. Tell me, please tell me, angels, what way should we read these cards? Again, they're saying sit and think, but I like my guiding forces. Serenity, and it came out bottom down. So let's put it like that. So I'm going to read it as though it's coming to me. Okay, we've just got the Serenity card just there. The reason Serenity came up is because it's basically saying you can be at peace that whatever happens, whatever outcomes come from this, will always be the right thing. So even if I did read it in reverse, we were going to get the right energy. It just might have presented a little bit differently. Okay, but the reason that we're doing it this way is because they're telling me that there are things that I might be able to take away from these readings as well. Therefore, I'm putting my energy in this as well, and that's why it's facing me rather than facing you guys. Okay, it feels like this is a 10 of Pentacles situation rather than a 6 of Pentacles or an 8 of Pentacles situation. Those are just the energies that I feel from this audience in particular, okay? I feel like there's 6s, 8s, and 10s. And I don't mean in terms of, like, you are better than you. I just mean that there's people who have been spiritual for longer, then there are people who are still learning spirituality, and then there are people that are newly awakened. That's what it feels like this process is, okay? And I feel a lot less of the middle. category, by the way. It's a lot more like big time spirit energy and then small time spirit energy, and I love both of them. They're very, very nice energies. I can't. I'm obsessed a little bit. Okay, so let's go ahead. That's why I keep doing these freaking readings. Okay, so survival. It's talking about we are coming out of survival mode. We don't need to worry about survival anymore. So if I'm reading this top down, that community card was for you, and it feels like that was for your newly awakened bros and homies. What I mentioned about the community. Ugh, why do I have hiccups every single time? Okay, actually just realized I think it's a throat chakra thing, but I'm not going to try and break down the energy there, even though it would be pretty easy. I can already see what's going on, but let's just leave it. Let's go to the survival card. So the survival card is basically saying, cool dude, you've made your way out of survival mode. How? By leaving your community behind. So this is now talking back to the 10 of Pentacles. The 10 of Pentacles guys, the guys that are now spiritually mature, aware of what's going on. You're good for yourself. You're good for yourself, and therefore you're good for other people around you as well. This is for those people. You know that your community was toxic. That's why it's upside down. You were like, this community, these people are deceiving me. They are gross. They are toxic. They are unaware of what they're doing, even though they are constantly hurting me. They just can't seem to understand what's really going on here. So you realized this and you decided to move on. You had to put up with that because you had to survive. And this is common, guys. This is a common thing that's going on in these spiritual advances, is that we wake up and we realize that our community is not good for us. So all the newly awakened beings, all the Six of Pentacle guys, you also will be experiencing this, where your community isn't healthy for you, and you probably are realizing that, and you probably are realizing that you just fit in with them so that you could adopt a survival mentality. But what this is telling us for us on the 10 of Pentacles, which means that it equates to the 6 of Pentacles. Remember that through this expansion, everyone is working in tandem. So if this person evolves, this person evolves. And that is how it works. Okay, that's how the energies are working now. Things are literally, it's like a that. Okay, there's this yin yang going on. Okay, and when I do that, what I mean is that the female energy is coming forward and the male energy is going backwards. And I don't mean it in the way of, yes, let's suppress the men, okay? I don't mean it in that whole toxic femininity way. What I mean is that there's a balancing force going at play. So the female is taking not advantage, but taking leadership, taking ownership of her own power, and that makes the male energy realize what's going on and take a step back, start to appreciate, start to accept, start to respect the female energy. That's all that's happening now, is this yin-yang energy, okay? And through that process, we're realizing that the community we were once with, that we had adopted unto ourselves for a while, especially while we were in the Matrix, was actually a toxic one. Now, here's the worst part to hear. I don't know if this applies to Six of Pentacles, but I am leaving this this piece of advice. It's like a warning, okay? I don't mean to alarm you, but it is a bit of a warning. There are different ways you can go now. You can either continue in survival mentality and therefore having to keep adopting new communities which you don't like and you don't agree with. Or you can see if you can already try and do the shadow work to get yourself out of survival mode. I don't mean that you have to scrape by with cash. What I mean is that you can still be grateful for scraping by with cash. It's one of the few things I wish I did sooner to change my own financial life, was this constant complaining about not having cash and constantly thinking like I have to worry about cash and stuff. That means that that's just going to perpetuate because you're feeding that energy there. So what this wants you to do is try and see if you can get out of survival mode. It doesn't mean that you must stop your responsibilities. What it means is that if you can start taking your responsibilities with a more light-hearted energy behind it, then you're going to be a lot better off, because you're going to be allowed, like the universe will literally allow you to discern better about your community if you are out of your survival mode and you are in your heart mode. Okay. Then we go on to rest and new life. So rest and new life is, I mean, these guys keep coming up with the same, right? They keep coming up together, at least in the same reading or something like that, or at least their energies. It feels like their energies are intertwined a lot. It's saying that this is your rest period for your new life. and therefore you should be resting, but rest shouldn't be your be all and end all. You still need to be disciplined. You still need to work towards something. But the thing that you might be missing right now is that you might be disciplined on your project. Okay, you might be doing the work that you need to do, but what might be missing is the shadow element. So you might not be sitting back and thinking. You might not be meditating. You might not be contemplating or journaling. Whatever you need to do some shadow work. Maybe if you need, go and watch a video, a YouTube video on shadow work. Maybe I'll make a video on shadow work. How do you do shadow work? Well, it's easier for the younger generation, your Six of Pentacles, because they keep having their shadows presented to them through these cards. You know, the community isn't shadow. The community is external of yourself. But what I mean is that the shadow, like, you know, in the last reading, we had that deprivation card. And that's saying, well, that's just a shadow. It means go look at how you feel deprived. Meanwhile, we had to actually figure out, what is it I'm feeling? Where is it coming from? I never, I realize now the cards would have helped. I never thought to use the cards. That's why my psychic intuition is so on fleek, because I had to learn to read myself, which is already a lot murkier waters, but I had to learn to do that so that I could get myself out of this community state and out of this survival state, because not a single goddamn person around me was going to help me with either of those things. I had to do both of those myself. But it feels like the Six of Pentacles are getting a little bit of a blessing here, where they've got people that they can look up to. It's not that you might not be in contact with them, but definitely it's like you can see them living their life in this capacity, in a much healthier, happy capacity, rather than, it's like they're out of community. It's like they're not part of humanity because humanity can't understand them. So it's like, well, forget it then. I'm not part of humanity. And it feels like they've realized that and moved on. And it feels like you've seen somebody like that or come in contact with somebody like that, and you're now aware. So this reading is applying to the Ten of Pentacles as well as the Six of Pentacles. There are some Eight of Pentacles in here as well, and this reading will resonate with you guys as well. Okay, in some capacity. Definitely when it comes to discipline, that is most specifically for your Eight of Pentacles. This discipline on your shadow work, you should absolutely be doing that, okay? This does also come for the Six of Pentacles. The difference is that the Eight of Pentacles are going to have a harder time here because they're not using things. They're not using tools to help them, not using readings like this. That's why the Eight of Pentacles are the minority in these readings, at least from what I'm feeling. I feel they might become the majority at some point because the sixes have to move into the eights and so on and so forth. But right now I'm feeling like the newly awakened are like majority energy, and then the older awakened are the guys that are just interested in this stuff. But it feels like you guys are already reading your own cards and doing your own intuition work. Okay? That's so freaking good. Then we've got death, guys. So there's another shadow to deal with death. There's something about death that's keeping you stagnant. There's a fear or there's a worry or a concern, and it's to do with something about death. That could be death of a loved one. It could be death of a relationship. It could be death of a commitment that you placed, and now you feel non-committal. It could be anything like that, okay? That is a death that you might be experiencing right now. However, through this death comes your ability to lead correctly. Why? Because it is, does anybody know Dragon Force? You know the song Through the Fire and the Flames? It's basically like you go through the hard stuff and you come out a better, different person. That's what's happening. So yes, there's a death. There's a death of something, but that's also going to equate to a death of your inner shadows, which is why you have that there. This process is going to create this. So you might be thinking that the death is a negative thing. You might be thinking that you don't want to end this commitment. Actually, no, what I'm getting is that most of you know that this needs to end, but you're a little bit unaware how to do that. And that's just saying, like, maybe don't just, maybe take some time, do the discipline, rest in new life. Remember, if we go back here, this is the answer to that question there. It's saying take some time to rest because the new life is coming. Take this rest time because the new life is coming. But this is not just about resting. This is about doing the discipline, having the discipline to do the shadow work. So it's not just, I'm just going to watch Rick and Morty all day, every day. It's more like, I'm going to make sure that in amongst my Rick and Morty binge, I'm going to take 10 minutes per 3 episodes to sit and think and contemplate and meditate, journal, go to the mirror and talk, make videos for myself. Whatever you need to do, do it. Find something that's going to help you do your shadow work and do it. I will talk about shadow work coming up. Okay, we'll make a video on that now. Then you've got your death. So your death is then talking about, we talked about that already, but what comes after the death is the leadership. your new life. So notice how this wants to then go back into this. Oh, actually, I don't know if you can see that, but this energy then wants to stem back, back into this new life, this rest period. So you're going to adopt a new focus for yourself. But that means you're then going to have to probably adopt a new rest period as well, because now you have to figure out your strategy. Now you have to plan. Now you have to move forward. And that's why that then comes back into the upside down appreciation. Because you are not going to appreciate that. You're going to be thinking like, I just came out of a rest period, and now I know what I want to do, but now you're telling me that I need to go and rest again. I need to now sit and think again. That's ridiculous. So you're not going to appreciate that phase of life. However, that's what's going to spark your real creativity. So what's going to be happening there? It's going to be another phase of your awakening. It feels like your awakening is happening a lot quicker than it did for a lot of us. I mean, mine was very quick, but most other people tell me that theirs went on for like 2 years, 3 years, things like that. 5 years. I'm like, my God, dude, you went through a spiritual awakening for 5 years. Okay, things like that. It's just that people experience the phases differently. I was blessed, but also, I guess, cursed to have multiple phases happen at once. But that's because I really needed to skyrocket, because I really kept myself back for a long time. I just entered a relationship, and I entered into a comfort zone, and therefore I could just pretend that my community was fine for me because I was in survival mode. I was like, money, 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 and therefore who cares about this? Let's focus on money, money, right? But that wasn't healthy, so it had to end, and the universe helped me end that. Okay, but this is the process that has to happen. So when this is ending, when this is all coming to life, you have to, when you're going through the death cycle, the death phase, this has to happen. You have to go through the new life, do the disciplined work to discover your shadow and see what's coming up. Then the death is going to happen. Then you want to move forward, but now you're sitting thinking, I know I want to move forward. I know what I want. But remember, knowing what you want and knowing how to get there are different things. So now the universe is going to request again, well, we might need you to sit and rest again now. You might need to sit and think. You might already be doing this. You might need to do it again. Who knows what's coming up for you, okay? Only you know what's coming up for you. You can then take it back to the leadership, move it onto the appreciation, which we talked about. You won't appreciate this phase, but the trick here is to try and appreciate it nonetheless. Be thankful. Make sure that you're trying to enter a blessed state of mind. So thank you for my bed. Thank you for these cushions. Thank you for the walls that keep me safe and protected. You know, as much as you can with as little as possible, show gratitude, because that's going to humble your spirit as well. That's then going to bring in the creativity, which is basically your inspirational thought. So once you can control your mind, this process means that your mind's a little bit foggy right now. But once you go through this rest phase and this humbling phase as well, you're then going to enter a state of grace. I know we don't have the grace card here, but you are going to have some creativity. You will also have some blockages, restriction coming at some point. Remember that restriction on creativity is to make sure that you still go through this phase here. So if you're feeling like you need to get a move on, but you're still feeling a little bit hindered in your creative process or in your ideas, or you feel like you can't really work an idea out, you can't plan for it properly, then it might be that you're still in this phase here. And you might still need to be just working on something else. And we're already hinted at what that is. It's your discipline and your shadow work. Okay, make sure you're doing that phase here. And then remember that you need to make sure that you're also thinking about the way forward. Once you've dissolved yourself and you realize that you want to prioritize something new, you need to lead yourself towards that new prioritization. In doing so, you will automatically lead other people there. That's just how that happens. Not everybody will go with you. In fact, most of your community will have to be left behind. That's just sad facts. Maybe 20 years down the line, it will change. Maybe even 10 years, depending how fast everybody can evolve. Okay, then back to the creativity. So this is saying the restriction will be there. It's like a wall. I don't know if you can see that energy, but this restriction is like a wall holding this creativity in. And this restriction card will get removed once the exhaustion is gone. So the exhaustion is the key here. The reason it's been up there, I even forgot about it, but then it was pointed to it. The exhaustion is up there to tell us that this is the fundamental sign. This is the key telling us that this is the process going on. How will we know when this restriction is gone? Well, there will be a couple signs. The first one is that intuitively we will get this nudging. It'll be like, let's go and do this and see what happens. But we will also have less fear, less resistance. Remember, these restrictions, these energy restrictions exist within us as our feelings. So when we feel fear to approach something, it's probably because there's something that we first have to work out about that fear. Okay, that's why it's a restriction, because we see it as a wall. Again, it's there's not an actual wall here, but that's how you see it. Okay, that's like the energy envisioning of those sort of energies, and that's because that's a restrictive energy. Now, what it's saying here is that once you go through this process and you get your creativity going, once you've done your rest and new life and healing and stuff, the creativity, the restriction will move away, but it will only move away if you can get yourself out of exhaustion. And exhaustion means that you need to balance rest. It's the balance. It's life cycle balance. Okay, so it's number one, make sure you have a good, healthy lifestyle. You know, get enough sleep. Make sure that you're sleeping on a diurnal capacity. Um, you know, circadian rhythms. Like, I know some people talk about being nocturnal. I don't think that was healthy in the past. It might be different now with these new energies. I'm not sure. I would have to read someone who would come out as nocturnal for me to actually get a good reading on that. But what I can say right now is that what I did to fix all myself with these things was make sure that I get a good sleep. So it was like 10 to, you know, not later than 10, but now not later than 11, and then not later than 7 in the mornings. Um, Only 2 cups of coffee and not after 12 in the afternoon. You know, things like that. Looking at ways that I can balance my life so that I can work with morning energies as the morning, afternoon energies as the afternoon, energy, evening as the evening, where you're starting to come down and relax and appreciate life. And then into the nighttime when you're fully relaxed and you've entered Zen mode. Maybe you've done a meditation. Now you read a little bit, and then you continue like that. So it's looking for a nice steady flow. If you can achieve that flow, then this exhaustion will fall away automatically. And if it does come up again, it's because it's asking you then at that phase in life once again to go through a certain cycle. It might be like this, but it might be something a lot different as well. You'll be able to figure it out at that point. Don't worry about that too much. The future gets a lot easier for you once you start understanding what's going on. It's just these initial phases of all the spiritual stuff that you don't really know what's going on. Luckily, you guys do have a lot more exposure to this stuff. There's a lot more truth tellers. There are a lot more like prophetics and stuff like that. I don't really like the word prophetics because I don't necessarily know it yet. I can't tell entirely if that is healthy or not. That sort of form of reading, and that's coming from my personal readings of those people which I've seen make these prophetic. They're filled. A lot of those prophetic readings, just a heads up, are filled with a lot of fear energy, which means there's a lot of fear-inducing energy, which means it's actually a very subjective reading. One of the reasons I'm so afraid personally to tangent in these readings of my own is because I don't want to bring my own bias into these readings. I want them to be a channeled. Yeah. I don't like that word either because that creates bias around it anyways. It's like the whole channel thing. So you're telling me that you're a supreme being because you can channel things from the higher state. It's like there's so much bias with words, and it's like at the end of the day, I'm just trying to speak a truth. You guys can hear it how you want to. A lot of people don't like hearing the truth that I speak. They're afraid of it. They don't know how to take it. That's just the way it is. But the fact is, it helps a lot of people. People benefit from this, and I would rather be doing my part to benefit people, even if it means that other people want to smack me and call me names and stuff like that. That's just kind of the way it is. As a light worker, you guys can relate to this, or at least you will be able to. That's the whole community, upside down community card. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. We live in a place where people have been, their their idea of themselves has been broken down to nothing. So all we can keep doing is practicing forgiveness, but being completely stern in our own reaction to people. Nobody should ever be allowed to take advantage of us ever again. And that's what we need to work towards. So even though people want to call me names and stuff and deceive me and connive me, do you know that so many people have tried to work behind my back in my past and my history? Not a single one of them have succeeded. And in fact, what I keep getting up now in all these readings and all this energy stuff that I'm getting in, or everything that's telling me what's going on, is that all those people are actually getting justice served to them. So things really work out. When you practice the light work and you just keep pushing, you keep pushing for your truth. And what is your truth? People think that your truth is that you're this powerful genie. It's like, no, my truth is that, number one, I'm observing. Number two, I got to this point because I went out into scary situations, and instead of reacting, I just observed and paid attention to what was going on inside and outside. That's how you do your work, and that's going to change people around you. There's not a... I used to be shiz. I used to be shiz scared of strangers. Dude, I connect with strangers on a point where it's like we've known each other for years. Obviously, not everybody. I don't like everybody. I obviously with the psychic stuff, you can start to read people. There are people that I really like as well. But this has turned into a tangent about me. I don't think that's necessary. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the reading. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.